everybody, and welcome to the Movie Club Emporium. And this is our October 2025 Halloween live stream. Thank you guys for coming out. This is exciting. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. If this is your first time here, welcome. These live streams we try to do once a month. Last month we talked about Sony's Spider-Man-less Spider-Man films. And this month we are breaking down getting extra sweaty in all things Stephen King's The Stand. But if you say to yourself, well, I know I'm new here, but I'm making a lot of demands right off the bat, and I need more than just once a month. Well, you're in luck because we have reviews that go up every single week, sometimes twice a week. Every single Sunday there will be a movie review. We are rounding out our October Halloween horror month, where I've been reviewing lesser than Clive Barker movies. So not the big hitters, the B-sides of Clive Barker's film adaptations. And then so that will wrap up this tomorrow, and then we will head into our neo-noir November next week. And we also have our post-theater clarity videos that go up, where Nick here, and I'll let him talk here in a second, gives us the freshest, hottest takes on everything you can imagine in the theater. Like sometimes, like he barely makes it out the front door of the theater before he's giving you his hot takes. So you don't want to miss those. Those go up every single week, and then again, our live streams once a month. If you have missed any of them, most of them are up on our channel. There's a playlist for everything. Reviews, clarities, our live streams. Not everything's up there because sometimes I put them up, get them uploaded, and then forget to release them. So there are some that aren't there. And then right before we get into this, I will say I do have a surprise, because this is before Halloween. Halloween's not till next week. I do have a surprise video that I'm not telling you what it is. There will be a surprise video that does go up on Halloween itself, so you want to pay attention for that. And without any further ado, hello, Nick.
Hey, pal, how's it going?
Good. How's it been?
Oh, been all right. Last time we did this, I was down in Oklahoma. We got to do it in person, which was cool because that was our first time ever doing it. Traveled back to the Great White North afterwards, and kind of been catching up on things in life and the time since. Watching some horror movies in anticipation of Halloween, and getting to the movies a few times, and yeah. Life's been good, just really busy, but still taking that downtime to enjoy the spooky season and catch up on these two miniseries.
That's right. We're going to be diving into a little bit of the books, not too much, but then also we're going to be reviewing, maybe a little comparing, maybe a little bit of contrasting the two successful, and by successful I mean they were actually made, because we'll get into some of the unmade adaptations of Stephen King's seminal novel, The Stand. Which I guess is a great place to start. So I hope you guys, spoilers to anybody in the chat who has not read or seen anything to do with Stephen King's The Stand. Number one, shame on you. Number two, we're gonna be talking about a lot of the stuff from this story. So hopefully If nothing else, perhaps it's not the ending, but the journey that gets you there, so you'll be able to check it out afterwards. But we are going to be diving into Stephen King's The Stand, which is uh, a book and I should guess I should more than anything a story that you and I have like strong, deep, long ties to in ways that you really wouldn't think of outside of just, you know, reading.
We we do. We have a deep history to this, and mine goes back to before I was born. And my parents, who are at the right age, were big on the Stephen King craze. Of course, they read his novels. Definitely watched some of the movies as they came out, and I was exposed to some of those movies, and in the '90s, some of the made-for-TV movies and miniseries from Stephen King. Uh, this one, The Stand is one that this came out when we were 9 years old, about, and it was a TV event. As there were several of those back in the '90s with Stephen King. We had The Stand, The Tommyknockers, Storm of the Century, the more faithful version of The Shining, The Langoliers, The Golden Years. They were pumping them out like crazy in the '90s. A lot of them were pretty high quality, but in 1994, when this TV event dropped, uh, we were glued to the TV every week for 4 weeks for all of the episodes, and re-recorded them. Well, accurately, re-recorded episodes 2, 3, and 4. We did not, for some reason, record episode 1. So for years, I would watch episodes 2, 3, and 4 with all the commercials and whatnot in them. And it was at that point with those recorded copies that I believe I first shared it with you.
Yeah, so I my my mom is a big reader, certainly not of Stephen King. My dad always joked about how he felt like even like Garfield had too many words in it. He wasn't a big reader at all. Um, so I did not know anything outside of being a child, stumbling across, Stephen King stuff on TV. I remember there used to be a commercial that scared the ever loving piss out of me, and it was for the Stephen King like book club. You know what I'm talking about? It'd be like you could, it was like a Columbia Record House, but for like Stephen King books. But it was like it was footage from Pet Cemetery, and it was when he enters Judd's house, and it's all like gross and like dead and decaying, and it was just like it was just they must be the scariest things ever. Um, so I knew of Stephen King, knew the name, knew movie titles. Hadn't seen a lot by then because again, you're 9 years old. You don't as some of the messed up stuff I've seen way too young. Thanks, Dad. So there was a lot of Stephen King involved with it. But yeah, like you said, the TV stuff, like everybody watched it. Um, and the and the other ones, but I did not know of the Stand, and then um, so 93 summer of 93, I believe, is when you and I met. It was the summer before I turned 9. So summer 94 then. June of 94.
Yes, I believe
Um
so.
Met, hung out, we came real, pretty quick friends at camp. Ended up moving to Hobart a couple years later. And then yeah, like you said, you had episode 2, 3, and 4, and I remember watching them and just being utterly like blown away by it, even without knowing enough of what the setup was, but not knowing, not seeing that first episode. That it blew me away to the point to where I made now in retrospect a terrible mistake of discovering the uncut book, the uncut what do they call it, the unabridged version at our public library, which was like the size of 2 phone books. And like, oh well, I love the shows. I'm gonna read this book. The problem was I was in 6th grade. And we'll get into the themes and the things in this book that honestly, like, so much of it even went over my head. Then so much of it, like I've read the, I think actually read the book front to back 4, maybe 5 times now in my life. And even now, where I'm just like, oh, I did not catch that the first 4 times.
It's a
But
massive book.
yeah, it took like 6 months to read. I had to keep checking it into the library. Um, all this, like, it was insane, but it was just this book, like, it attracted me to reading it. It definitely made Stephen King my favorite author. I will tell you right off the bat, going into it, I do believe. I mean, the Dark Tower is my favorite Stephen King series. The Stand is probably my favorite novel of all time. Um, it's a book that has some of the greatest characters in it, and it's Stephen King's Lord of the Rings. Um, it holds a very special place in my heart, and it all stems from Nick's VHSs of nights 2, 3, and 4 of the summer of 1994.
And eventually, my parents did invest in the 2 tape VHS set of The Stand. So I finally was able to watch it all in its entirety. And watching it again recently, I could almost quote the entire thing. I've seen it so many times, and I haven't seen the '94 miniseries in a good 10, 12 years, and it was still fresh in my mind. Uh, but it was so great back in the '90s. Like it's something kids today can't really relate to. Of It's like, oh, we finally got a set where I don't have to fast forward through commercials, and I have all of it. It was great. It's just it was a different time, but having that was still able to watch it, appreciate it, and share it with you, which I mean, you became a giant Stephen King fan in the aftermath.
Yeah, I remember that they re-aired it in like 99 or 2000 ish, somewhere in there. And so I was able to tape it for myself. So I had my own VHSs of Stephen King's The Stands. And yeah, fast forwarding through commercials. And then I remember, I believe it was the night before I was going to that council at that camp in Nebraska. And I went to stay with Nick, who was living in Altus, but it was like we were leaving Altus like some ungodly hour, like 4 or 5 in the morning. So I was just like, I'll just go to Nick's house. We'll stay. And I went to Hastings before coming to your house, and I bought the DVD, which was a dual doored DVD case. So it had two, those big chunky DVD cases where it had like 2 doors on it. And it had episode 1 and 2 on one disc and episode 3 and 4 on the other. And so I was like, I got it in like not quite high definition. No commercial. Like just pop it in my DVD player and go. Of course now they've released it on Blu-ray and digital and all that stuff. But yeah, it's like it became to where like King was what I read, and I think and I've enjoyed a lot of it. My weird like COVID thing, or everybody had their COVID thing. Like some people made sourdough, some people learned to crochet, or learned an instrument or another language. I was like, I'm gonna buy every Stephen King book. I want to have a copy of every Stephen King book, but not like fresh. I want them from like thrift stores and secondhand books and all that stuff. Um, but it all just stems from this novel, and this is honestly the miniseries. But before we jump into the miniseries, I'll just a little, um, quick little piece of history on the novel. Stephen King's The Stand. It was his fourth book, and fourth novel. Took him over 2 years to write, and since he was on a schedule with his then publisher, to appease their one book a year is the reason we got his first collection of short stories, Night Shift. So thank you for that. Um, yeah, again, after Carrie, The Shining, and Salem's Lot, Stand was published in 1978. It was a whopping 823 page American epic. 1990 saw the release of the uncut version, which restored the original page count of 1,152 pages.
It's a lot of
Of
pages.
yeah, and of some of the big stuff, most notably, um, some stuff that happens right near the climax of the book is broken into three parts. The climax of the first part, the entering into the second part, and then a part we'll get into later involving a character that has yet to make any version of these adaptations, the kid.
Oh, the kid.
Um, but we will dive into that stuff. 1994, May 8th, saw the release of Stephen King's The Stand on ABC. This was after years and years of failed attempts. At the time, it was the largest TV production, filmed in over 5 states and Canada. It was budgeted for 1994 a whopping $25 million for a TV miniseries. Filmed over 6 months. But yeah, this was the here we are. Okay, I had to find where I was at. So here is a breakdown of the. We won't get to all until we get to where we are. So just so you know, this was the first successful attempt. Throughout the 1980s, King pushed for a theatrical film to be directed by George A. Romero and written by himself. Sometime in 1990, when the complete edition came out, in the forward of that release, he actually says that his idea for Flag was a 1980s Robert Duvall. I don't see that either.
No, no.
Eventually, Ruspo Pallenberg was brought in to help King kind of bring it down into a 3-hour movie script. But at the end of the day, Warner Brothers ended up passing. They did, however, work again, Romero, and because this was after a Creep Show. Romero and King were able to get one more adaptation in with each other, and that was The Dark Half. So, 1994 saw the release over 4 nights. Basically 4 1 hour and 29-minute episodes, 2 hours because you got to get them commercials. Part 1, The Plague. Part 2, The Dreams. Part 3, The Betrayal. And Part 4, The Stand. Co-written by Stephen King and director of all 4 parts, Mick Garris. Do we want to go through this cast real quick before we dive into this one? Or how do you want to tackle this going forward?
We could give him we can give him a mention real quick. You had a good amount of talent involved in this at this point. You had a kind of going over the main highlights here. We have Gary Sinise as Stu Redmond, Molly Ringwald of the Rat Pack fame as Franny Goldsmith, the underrated Jamie Sheridan as Randall Flagg, Laura San Giacomo as Nadine Cross, and what is a very interesting performance. Ruby Dee as Mother Abigail. Ossie Davis as Judge Ferris. Miguel Ferrer as Lloyd Henreid. Corin and Nemec as Lloyd Henreid. Or no, Harold, sorry. I got that wrong. Corin Nemec as Harold Lauder.
Yeah.
Matt Fuhr as Trash Can Man. Adam Stork as Larry Underwood. Rob Lowe as Nick Andros. Ray Walston, who's a guy you've seen in a lot of things but don't know his name, as Glenn Bateman. Bill Fagerbach as Tom Cullen, and Peter Van Norden as Ralph Bretner. There are a lot more people in this, including Stephen King himself and John Landis, of all people. But that kind of goes over a lot of the main characters we'll run into. Uh, I will say, a pretty great collection of talent involved in this.
Yeah, especially for a 90s television show. I mean, uh, the big names were Rob Lowe and Molly Ringwald, a very brunette Molly Ringwald, which was weird at the time, especially going back, like seeing her in this, and then later seeing her and the things that made Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles. Like, oh, she's like a really really redhead.
Yes.
Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan himself. Like this is uh before Forrest Gump, so like he was known, but not. I mean, I think he was probably mostly known for what that Mice of Men film he did with John Malkovich. Was that before this or was that after this?
Who again did you say?
Gary Sinise. What was his big like hit before? Because I feel like he wasn't like a big name until Gump.
I mean, of Mice and Men.
That's the one.
That's it.
I couldn't remember if that was
Which,
before or after.
yeah, that was before, that was 92, so that would have been before. And he got a lot of you know, praise for that role too, and as he should have.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, Forrest Gump is really his breakout role, and this was a big breakout role for him as well.
Again, Adam Stork, who is sadly underrated in his career. Like he has a brief bit in um Death Becomes Her. He has a fun little role in Highway to Hell. The weird Chad Lowe, oh no, the devil stole my girlfriend movie. Um and he's in a really fun episode of Tales from the Crypt, but um Larry, the character of Larry, we'll start there. The character of Larry Underwood is one of my favorite. He is my favorite character in this book, and I think that um he's my favorite character in the book because he's the one that has the biggest arc. And then of course, yeah, Dauber. People my age know him as Dauber. Most of the rest of the world knows him as Patrick, but Bill Lagerbalk is as Tom Cullen, Moon. That spells Patrick Starfish. Um, I just when you think about what a stacked cast. Laura Saint, I'll tell you right now, we'll get into it, but Laurie San Giacomo, I watched because of Laura San Giacomo in this miniseries. Buddy, I watched way more of Just Shoot Me than anybody my age should have because Hachi Machi. Um, she, I don't know what it was, but something unlocked for Jason in 1994 with her performance. With her as Nadine Cross. Yeah, and just like you said, there's just so many characters. So I guess we'll start here. So anybody who doesn't know what the Stand um, is again like the best comparison I think most people give it is it's Stephen King's Lord of the Rings. It's this great like tale of good versus evil, and it expands through the entire U.S. Uh, Essentially, a fellowship has to go to a place to to stop something. But it's post-apocalyptic. It deals with a man-made super flu that is released, kills 99.6% of the entire world's population. And then we find out our survivors begin to have dreams, that of a dark man who has no memory of who he is, but just knows that everywhere he goes, he sows chaos. And a 108-year-old black woman from Nebraska, and sides begin to be drawn. And the ultimate battle of good versus evil will be fought in America's heartland. And I guess that's the easiest way to break down.
Yes. There's a plague. It kills people. It basically, in a matter of a few weeks, just completely rips the world to shreds. Society collapses incredibly quickly because this is a very virulent and aggressive strain. You get sick, it indisposes you. You get disposed to it, and you are extremely contagious. Uh, it gets out of this government facility. Government facility it gets loose in it, and one guy, a uh, low level military guy, escapes with his family and drives across several states, infecting people along the way until he winds up at Arnett, Texas, at a gas station and runs into our big main character, Stu Redman, and he's kind of running into patient zero, and you get to see the government attempting to contain this. And you see these various characters, everything crumbling around them, and them trying to figure out what to do next in the aftermath. And they're shown they're presented these dreams from two opposing forces, and they have to decide, these characters, which way they're going to go and what they're going to do. And you ends up with this, I mean, epic classic confrontation of good versus evil. Um, and it's an amazing story that spans the entire United States and all these different characters from all these different backgrounds to make for a really compelling story.
Yeah, and it is very um there are things about it uh that this would later become kind of a linchpin in King's universe. I guess if we want to get you guys want to buckle up and get real nerdy real quick. So there are four. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Four uh cosmic. So if you want to compare it to like King, like Lovecraft has his boys, whether it's Dagon or Cthulhu or what's the other big one? Um anyway, the big bad monsters. Uh Rendell Flagg is one of them, also known as Walter Black. If you're into the King multiverse, he is one of four sons. Um, he is a magician. He's the closest you get to being human, in as much as though his power is not quite as, let's say, intense as his brothers. He is a man of magic, and basically he is a sower of chaos. He is not the cause of the plague, um, but he comes to wreak havoc in its wake. His two younger brothers. He is the oldest brother, so he has three younger brothers. One is the creature known as Pennywise, who feeds on fear. There is a creature that has a human name It's the same as Pennywise, but he feeds on laughter. Like imagine like the Joker Smilex gas, like what that does to you as a person. But he feeds off of that. And then Tack, which is a character from another Stephen King miniseries that Mick Garris did, Desperation, which is a creature that feeds on hate. All four are sons of the Crimson King, the weird spider-like, uh, basically King's version of the King in Yellow. To get back into Lovecraft. Again, we were gonna get super nerdy, babies. Um, but getting back to the sand, so you have Randall Flagg, who is our main antagonist, who essentially begins calling those people who are, I don't want to say evil because that's something I want to get into with these adaptations. Calls a certain people to Las Vegas, whereas a lot of others are called to Nebraska and then to Colorado by Mother Abigail, again a 108-year-old black woman who is the voice of God. Um, and it's our group of survivors again from East Texas to Maine to New York City to Arkansas to all over the continental United States, are called to these places, and then as societies are slowly being rebuilt, a final battle of good and evil will be fought uh, near the Rocky Mountains. And so again, it's just this weird, it's amazing, sprawling, post-apocalyptic, fantasy horror book involving tons of places and characters, actions, betrayals, all kinds of things, and it's just really an amazing story. And yes, thank you, Tommy. Yog Sothoth, whatever. That one. But getting into this adaptation, um, I still say to me, aside from all the supernatural stuff that you get in the second, in most of it, to me the scariest part is still the first episode, the first part of the book, whatever you want to call it, is the plague stuff, because you get to see how quickly and easily every institution, everything can collapse in the blink of an eye, um, and just around us. And that to me is the most terrifying. And the idea of being somewhere where there's so many times done very well in the show, where you'll just hear somebody lightly cough, and when you hear anybody cough, they're dead. They're dead. And so we are introduced to so many characters, whether it's soldiers or CDC officials or the loved ones of our main characters. Where um, I think this begins on like in June, and by July 4th, the whole world is the whole country is a corpse rotting in the summer sun. So how do you want to go through breaking down this 1994? How do you want to review this?
Well, do you want to talk about it separately, or do you want to go over 2020 and kind of compare and contrast them,
Yeah,
or
let's do that. So let's jump ahead. Yeah, let's do that because I do want to compare and contrast a lot. So instead of having to do
we
it
could do
twice.
kind of compare them, as to said like structure, characters, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So in for the 2020, 2020 version is as you would expect from something 26 years newer. It's a lot more polished. It's a lot higher budget. It's got tons of people in it that you'll recognize. I'll go over the cast real quick. We have James Marsden as Cyclops himself as Stu Redman. Um, Odessa Young as Franny Goldsmith, who I'll be honest, I've not seen her in anything else. Owen Teague as Harold Lauder, who also is in It Chapters 1 and 2. Uh, the ever entertaining Alexander Skarsgård as Randall Flagg. Whoopi Goldberg as Mother Abigail. Amber Heard, there's a name you've heard a lot the last few years, as Nadine Cross. Jovan Adepo as Larry Underwood. Henrique Zaga as Nick Andros. Nat Wolff playing a very different version of Lloyd Henry. Brad William Hinkey playing a different, but I was think really good version of Tom Cullen. And Greg Kinnear as Glenn Bateman, who can go straight to hell for this portrayal of Glenn Bateman, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, so that's there's more people who will show up and you will recognize, but that kind of said that's the main people you're following along the way.
So I do have a little
And
bit on the release of it. So so let's do this. Let's go ahead and knock this out while we're here. So the history. So you have the 1994 version. It's a success. 2011, Warner Brothers begins a new development with David Yates and Steve Kloves, who collaborated on like the second half of the Harry Potter movies. So like what most people consider the good ones. They were going to write and direct several films, like do several, like kind of a, you know, not necessarily a trilogy, but like more than one film, shoot them all together and then release them as separate films. From 2000, that did not happen. 2012 to 2014, Ben Affleck, as well as Scott Cooper, who made Into the Furnace and Crazy Heart and Antlers, which is a really underrated horror film, were both signed on but later dropped out due to creative differences with the studios. And those were going to be films. In 2014, Josh Boone is hired to write and direct originally 4 films for Warner Brothers. Then Warner Brothers changed it to an 8-part Showtime series and a feature film finale. So they were going to do the show as an 8-part, or do it as an 8-part show, and then the finale of it as a movie, because that worked out so well for any other thing we've ever tried to do that for. And that was put on hold. And in that time, the rights reverted back to CBS. 2019, a 10-hour series is ordered to launch the streaming service CBS All Access. And I will tell you right now, when CBS Access came out, people went, I'm not buying that. And I went, oh, it's going to have the stand? Yeah, I'll pay for that. So I did, like, I was an initial buyer of CBS All Access because I knew the stand was coming. Of course, it got delayed. It was supposed to come out in May of 2020. And naturally, CBS went, let's push it. So it's not at the height of the pandemic. And it later came out at December of 2020. And then also, well, we'll get to that later. But yeah, so 2020, we get the release of the television, the CBS streaming version of The Stand. I think it ultimately was 9 episodes instead of 10.
yes, it was 9.
Okay, and I will say, having said that, Jason was day one purchaser of CBS All Access because he was going to get to watch The Stand. in 2020, this was my first time viewing this. It was real like I'm not want to watch it week to week. I'd rather watch it all together. And then like it kind of came out and nobody talked about it, and then it disappeared. And so I was like, oh no, and so I just had not watched it till we got to this. So this is as many times as we've watched the '94 version. This was my first time viewing the 2020 version. Um,
Which I found surprising that it took you this long to watch it. But I know, considering the history we have with the '94 version, it all of us here, between you and I and the people that are watching that I know are in the comments, we're all in that like 38 to 43 range. So we've seen a lot of things the last 10 or 15 years get redone from our youth. And sometimes it is really terrible. So there are things I still haven't watched. I'm not gonna like the Lion King movie, that live action Lion King movie. I'm never gonna watch that. Hard pass, won't do it. So I could understand kind of holding off on it, even if it's something that has at least a decent chance of being good.
well, number one, I saw The Lion King in the theater, and you're fine. Uh, yeah, I don't. It was just a weird thing where it's just like it never, it just never like grabbed me to do it. I never pulled the trigger, and then when they released the OG one on Blu-ray, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna show this to Ashton. He's in his teens. Like, let's. And I showed him that one, and even then it was like, and yeah, there's another version. We'll watch it sometime. Um, and then it all kind of we talked about doing this because we wanted to do a King live, but we didn't know where to start. So we thought, well, we'll start with the one that's the closest to us. Um, so I knew it was coming up. Knew I was gonna rewatch them, and then in August, uh, a book came out. Was which I'll talk about later. Of short stories set in the world of The Stand. I read it and was just like instantly like I need to reread The Stand. I'm just in that. I'm in this world. So reread The Stand, and then was like, okay, I've reread The Stand. I don't need to watch the '94 version first. Let's watch this 2020 version first. So Amber and I sat down and over 3 nights, like pounded out 3 episodes a night to watch this version. Um,
So, as any of you listening have figured out, we're very fond of the '94 version. I love it. Watching it again, I think it still holds up, even though showing its age somewhat 30 years later. What'd you think of the 2020 version?
there were things that I thought were good. Um, but they ultimately, to me, were very few and far between.
I had a feeling.
Um, and there were things that started out that I was like, okay, I like this version. And then by the next episode, I went, nope, no, like that. Um, so you want to start with? Would you rather start with the cast, or would you rather start with like the format and things like that?
We'll talk about the format first, because the '94 version, you have 4 episodes that are about an hour and a half long, and it's told in a pretty much linear fashion. Starts at the beginning with the plate getting loose, and ends with the aftermath of the events of the so-called stand. Whereas the stand 2020 flashes back and forth a lot. Uh, you're jumping around a time quite a bit to what's happening in Colorado or Vegas to what happened before and everything in between, going into the backgrounds of these characters. And I'll be honest, I really didn't like that. All the jumping around made it a little needlessly convoluted at times. It's like I would have much rather seen it kind of unfold organically in a linear fashion. Some flashbacks, cool, but just the constant jumping around in time made it feel really disjointed. And I really wish they had at least done a lot less of that.
Yeah, so it's that way through the first what 4 or 5 episodes where it
Yes.
does the jumping back and forth, and it to some degree, I for certain things I can understand it. My ultimate problem with this particular story is yes, when you are in those flashbacks and you're seeing as it's unfolding, I'm like, yes, like the stuff with Stu in Stovington, the stuff with the stuff as you're seeing them remembering as it is unfolding, it looks good. It looks big budget. I'm here for it. The worst mistake that this thing makes, almost above all else, is just this format of the flashbacks, because you have these characters who the whole first chunk of this story is surviving a plague and then having to make their way across what is essentially the corpse of America, running into, think of The Walking Dead. You're just constantly running to the worst people. Like, there are so many scary and suspenseful encounters that happen as on their way to either Nebraska or Boulder. So many great parts of their story, their character growth, are on that journey. And instead, it's all flashbacks. So then when they go into this harrowing action sequence, well, they're going to be fine because they're telling you the story. It's a flashback. All the suspense, all that character growth, all that development is just taken out of the show. And it's not like if you told it linearly, it would make it any longer. It's just uh,
No.
it's just it's like the movie, and I hated the movie, and I know I was one of the few people that hated it when it came out. Bird Box. I'm sure the novel of Bird Box is fantastic. But for that movie, because we tell that movie in constant flashbacks, you cannot have suspense in a flashback because it's a flashback. There's even a part in one particular scene of The Stand, the 2020 version, where somebody is telling what happened, and then in that flashback, a person has a flashback. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. So right off the
That's
bat,
that's really dumb. I'm just
yeah,
gonna be that's so dumb.
again, it just takes any up and for the first half of your show, unless you've never read The Stand or seen the 94 version. And even then I feel like it still wouldn't make sense of why you've cut it this way, because anybody who goes, "Oh, it's a flashback," then there's no anticipation for what could happen because you know the ultimate outcome.
So clearly 94 version in terms of how the story unfolded is better. Uh, of course, it gets better when it switches to a more standard format later on. But you're right, it takes the wind out of the sails. It takes the suspense out of it. Because with these characters, watching it, you're like, oh, there's times you genuinely wonder, are they going to make it through? And they're like, yep, nope. Um, yep, they're gonna absolutely make it through unscathed, or mostly unscathed, and if you Tommy in the comments said if you're going to do a non-linear storyline, you need to do it well, and that is absolutely the case. People like getting really clever with how they try storytelling in movies and shows, and if you're good at it, it could be marvelous. If you're not, it ends up hampering things so much, and it does in 2020. Uh, I just second go around watching it, it irked me a lot worse than the first time because I'd watched the '94 version, pretty that '94 and 2020 version pretty close together this time around. Um, I was gonna. Are you ready to move on to the cast? Because I think we could. Or do you have anything else to add there?
Well, so just unlike the way it's into the filmmaking aspect of it. I'll get into more specifics later. It's so weird, and the first one I could not find a budget for this because it's a streaming service show and they don't share that stuff, man. They don't tell you nothing. What's so weird to me, and it was so weird the whole time, even beginning in that first episode, is this is 9 hours of television, so we are well over 3 extra hours to tell this same story that we told in 1994 with 6 hours. We have 9 hours now to tell it. I don't know if it was just me or maybe you feel the same way. I feel like somehow this version was leaving out even more than the 94 version while also trying to get through trying to get through the story as fast as it possibly could.
I agree, and it's odd. I was hoping with the fact that we got 3 more hours, we get a lot more detail, and it just didn't feel like it. Like we got much more at all. Um, like I feel if you had 3 extra hours in the '94 version, you could expand out and would have done something with it. This, besides tacking on that extra episode on the end that kind of tells more about the aftermath, uh, no, it felt like that time didn't really go anywhere. It didn't really tell us a story, add anything meaningful to the story, and it's just I was pretty disappointed by that they just didn't do what they could have done with it to give us more detail and more depth.
Yeah. Yeah, let's I mean, we'll definitely hit more on stuff like that, but let's go ahead and get into this. And number one, um, Logan is you don't. I mean, do you know there's not an alligator in the stand? I don't know that you do. And if there's not, there should be. I mean, they talk about deer surviving the apocalypse. Deer and cats are both immune to the plague. Horses and dogs are not, but maybe alligators are. And since
There isn't
nobody,
any there is not any movie or TV series that it's not enhanced by adding alligators into it. None.
yeah,
It's scientifically proven.
yeah. So let's start with the big character. He's the first character. Well, not he's the first main character you meet in the book. Um, he's essentially Stephen King's Gary Cooper. It's Gary Sinise and James Marsden as Stu Redman.
I could make I could do this. Is there any characters in the newer one you think are better? Flat out.
Let me look at my list here. So, in the first episode, when he's in jail, Nat Wolff as Lloyd Henry, I was like, okay, because in the book, Lloyd. That's the one thing about rereading the book again before jumping into both versions of the series is how much younger some of the characters are than they are on screen. Lloyd in the novel is supposed to be like in his like early 20s, early mid 20s. Um, you know, Franny is like 22 years old. Harold's supposed to be 16. Just much younger people. So that first episode with Lloyd, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this casting. I think for the most part, since I'm not going to get a true version of Harold Lauder, I do like Owen Teague's this version of Harold Lauder. I do prefer this weird like internet incel version of Harold Lauder.
I agree. Watching '94 version again, Corman Nemec. He is this character. I've never read the book, but the character's supposed to be young. He's supposed to be like a teenager.
Yeah.
Uh, Corman Nemec. I like the guy. Ain't nobody buying him as a teenager.
No,
He
and
looks
as
32 years old in that show.
and as
This guy Owen
somebody
Teague
I was gonna say as
and
somebody who loved Parker Lewis Can't Lose, even then you're just like, no way, dude.
no, I'd have just and he doesn't feel this one. Owen Teague's Harold feels a lot more malicious, and like there's a scene where he's in the mirror practicing being like nice and friendly, and it's just like it's a facade. He is deep down not a good person. He is an angry internet incel who thinks he's entitled to his crush's love, and I think he's a very realistic character, much more so than the '94 version. Um, and I think part of the reason is that I think one thing that helps is the other person. I'll say this: another person I think is better is Amber Heard. I think is better as Nadine Cross. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Watching the Stan '94 version, Laura San Giacomo, uh, I'll be honest, I don't know what movie or show she was in. She was supposed to be playing in. She puts out such a bizarre performance as Nadine Cross that and I mean in her acting, I'll be honest, I don't think is great either. That absolutely anybody who ran into her would be like, okay, this chick's obviously crazy and weird. Let's stay away from her. Amber Heard, I think, does a much better job of somebody. It's like who she's she's a broken person who's been through a lot. And she's trying to survive, and she grapples with things within as to what she should do. She has this calling from Randall Flagg, but she's also has these other desires and kind of this desire for normalcy. And she really, with her kind of adopted kid Joe, shows some real compassion to it. I think she's a much more nuanced character, uh, and I think she plays that character a lot better. There's a lot going on with the character of Nadine Cross, and said
So I think
Miss Giacomo, yeah, doesn't do it for me.
I think that Amber Heard is a good casting. I think the writing for Nadine is not good in the 2020 version. Uh, I for the most when we have to make her ultimately the villainous stuff. The stuff where she was a teacher and so she has this attraction. She's like not this like she takes care of this boy who at the time when they find him is he's a feral child, basically just running around in his underwear with a butcher knife, and she's able to like keep him alive. She is calling, but the problem is that Nadine in the story is a character who is one of those people, and we know a lot of people who are like they're like, oh well, that's my destiny. I can't change it. And she tries a few times, but not before it's too late. At no point is she like this weird evil mastermind that they kind of have her play. She's essentially supposed to be the bride of Flag, who he then sends to seduce Harold into taking out as many of the free zone committee as possible. She's supposed to use her female wiles to seduce a 16-year-old boy into being bad. Um, Whereas in the 2020 version, they play her almost as like she's an underboss. And I still, I to me, this version, the 2020 version, really for a streaming service show that does include nudity. And I'm not saying like, oh, I want to see Amber Heard naked. I'm just saying like they really toned down like the seduction of the innocent that character is. You know, she is the temptation. Um,
But
for
Harold's not
Harold.
really innocent.
No,
That's
no,
the
not at
thing.
all. No, he's not. But she is that she is the physical temptation that is mixed with the mental manipulation of the dark man to be like, Harold, you're better than these guys. You could show them. Um, she's just there to ensure that Harold is willing to listen. He is physically satisfied enough to give in to what Darkman is trying to talk him into. And because there are many different parts of the book where, though Harold is full of hate and vigor, and he's not so much an incel in the book, he does have these moments where he is at a crossroads where he could go good. Like where he has the moment where he's like, this could be the moment where I forgive and I go to this way and it's fine. And it's because of not so much Nadine, but of Flag's influence over, they don't look what they took from you is what ultimately pushes him over the edge. As if it's not so much as Nadine being like, yeah, you should do it. I don't know. To me, she doesn't. Why I agree with San Giacomo. There's just that scene where it was just like, again, as watching those tapes, you're like, hachi machi. Nadine seduced me in 1994, but um,
I just, I 1894, the way she comes across, it's just like, I'm like, physically cool, but the way you're coming across is extremely creepy, and I'm afraid you might try to bite my ear off in the middle of the night or something.
yeah,
So Amber Heard, she's just like, hey, I'm super hot and we'll do stuff
yeah,
if you kind of go along with this. And it's like, I can believe that. I also like the fact that they don't seem to particularly like each other. They're like they cooperate, but they're not really
yeah,
very fond of each other.
yeah. I also liked. I like the casting of Nick. I like that we give him the eye patch. I love that he's actually is Hispanic instead of just Rob Lowe with the floppy boy band haircut. Um, they don't do any. That's a problem with a lot of these characters. We'll get into with the 2020 version is they don't do anything to service those characters. You have this new casting, like it's appropriately book cat, like he's cast to what his character is in the book, but then he's just background noise, but he's not background noise because he's deaf and dumb. But um, I did like the look of him, and I like Rob Lowe in the '94 version, but it's really just like, hey kids, it's Rob Lowe.
You know, so I love Rob Lowe as Nick Andros. I think he's very charming in the '94 version. This newer actor said his name escapes me. Uh, as Nick Andros, I think does a good job. Definitely plays it differently. They're both really pretty
Yeah,
guys. Uh, and I will say, while I prefer connecting to Nick Andros, while I prefer the '94 version of Tom Cullen, who I think plays it, Bill Fagerbaki, and I may be butchering his name, plays it. I think plays it so well as such an endearing, likable character. Uh, Stan 2020 is Tom Cullen. I think he does a I think he does a good job. I think he's also very likable, and I think both these guys play this characters mentally handicapped in a way that isn't demeaning, but kind of these guys are not. They could function, but they have delays and whatnot. And they're both just very likable, sweetheart, big lugs of a guy. I prefer '94 version, but I like the 2020 version as well.
yeah. So yeah, the '94 version to me is he just has it's a problematic character. It was a problematic character
It
in
is.
1994. It's an even bigger problematic character in 2020. Um,
Oh,
I
and also throw this in here. The 94 version throws around the R word a lot.
oh buddy,
Oh, it does.
oh buddy. You think that's bad? You should read the novel. um, to me, the '94 version with it's Patrick because I want to call him Dauber, but none of you are just like, oh, great, awesome. Did you see Jason did that awesome coach reference? So Patrick Star. Um, to me, his Tom Cullen has this innocence. Uh, but also you get that moment of the hypnotizing. He talks about God's Tom, and he almost not quite has a version of The Shining, but kind of a different take on it, where the idea of the separation of the human from the soul. You know, they're talking to the soul of Tom is who they're able to speak to be able to get Tom to do what he needs to do. The actor who plays Tom in this is fine. They don't give him anything. Um, doing the weird, like the way he comes in, like right off the bat, like uh, doing like his weird spiel. Like he keeps saying the same things over again. Maybe I'm the terrible person, and I probably am. But the first few times you see him, it just didn't work for me because all I could think was like it was like the 2020 equivalent of being like Franks and Beans, Franks and Beans. Again, it's a problematic character. I think the guy did fine. The best scene for him, honestly, is the last scene where we see Tom Cullen. Um, when Stu and Franny are leaving Boulder, and he has that moment where he's like, "You're gonna come back. You're gonna come back." You know, he's almost childlike and like, "Don't leave me. You can't leave me." And they're like, "No, we're gonna come back. It's okay." I think that's where you get to see that the most. Otherwise, it's either him doing like this weird like take thing that doesn't come across as genuine, or it's just him being like hanging out in the gladiator, like in Spartacus's basement. Because we'll get into that in a little bit, but it, it it didn't work for me, but I could see where it would. Um, the other one that I actually kind of liked, or I liked the idea of it, and I thought it was a great job. Is just the character is disserviced. Is uh, uh, Giovanni Depo as Larry. You know, I like Larry, and I like that this version, when we do get him to actually show a little bit of the character of Larry Underwood, I think he does really well. It's just that because we're doing this non-linear storytelling, you don't get to see Larry become who he needs to be by the time we get to the final battle. Um, which is to me that's why Larry has always been my favorite character in that book. Because he's a very flawed character. He's a character that when you read that story, there are different things that happen throughout where you honestly aren't sure where Larry's going to end up. Is he going to end up in Hemingford Home, or is he going to be somebody who we follow into Vegas? Like, you don't know. And ultimately, it's Larry's um um just the way he, after a certain thing happens with the character that isn't mentioned in well, I want to talk about later, event with that character, that he then kind of uses that jumping off point to become the man he needs to be to ultimately be kind of the de facto leader of the good guys when the end comes. The one I really want to talk about is Greg Kinnear, because I didn't hate it. I can tell you did. To me, I like Greg Kinnear. I I do I love Ray Walston. Um, I do feel like Kinnear to me in this one gives off a little more pompous college professor. When we're not hitting the vape pen all the time, like I don't know what that was about. Um, I do like moments of him. Again, it's another character who is kind of ultimately disservice. He's a character in the book that is because he's Ray Walston in that first one, you kind of have this like magnetic grandpa attachment to him, and the conversations he has with Sinise. There's a lot of Glenn talking in the books, and it's a lot of just like talking about like the like economic infrastructure and the old way. Like he's because he's like a historical economic professor, and so it's just a lot of lecturing that happens. Um, I like Greg Kinnear. I don't. I like that they may have cast Glenn a little younger, and again, to me, he looks in the 2020 version like a typical college professor. Um, but the vape pen was just like, what? Like, give him a pipe, you know, but just he'd just cockily walk around with the vape pen. Um, I think the best scene for him is the scene that is drastically changed from both the novel and the 94 version, which is his ultimate end. Um, he's good in that scene, but it does not have quite as much impact, and that is something that will be said throughout as we keep going. But your thoughts on, because I know you had very strong thoughts at the very beginning about Glenn's
Here's
portrayal.
the thing. I've not read the book, so I'm comparing two different versions here.
Mm,
Uh Greg Kinnear plays a pretentious douchebag that's constantly pothead, who's constantly puffing on it. Um, I think the character he plays is unlikable. Uh, and it's just I can't identify with him. I don't like him. The original Glenn Bateman's kind of this fatherly type who, despite the fact he's older, is very brave and this caring guy, and he's clever and intelligent and talented. Um, and just death. I guess that's it. I found his character boring and unlikable. I like Greg Kinnear. There's a lot I've seen him and I quite like,
So I
but
want to say,
this didn't do it for
yeah.
me.
Um, there's two more. So there's one major change. Well, there's one more big main good character, and that's the character of Franny. Um, I love Molly Ringwald, but she plays Franny well, but she also plays her as a very much. She comes off as damsel in distress a lot in that original series, even when she's not really the damsel in distress. She kind of has that kind of a that's the way she plays the character, a very whine to the character. But at least she's playing something because I don't know Odessa Young. I don't know this actress. But they give her nothing. And Franny Goldsmith might as well be a 2x4 in a Spirit of Halloween wig in the 2020 version because they have completely taken everything from that character away.
She's just I I don't care for the girl. I mean, the girl who plays her and doesn't do much. I don't think she's really given anything. She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, and that's why it's like, who do you prefer for? Do you prefer anybody from the new one over the old one? Because I think, with a very few exceptions, I prefer the cast of the '94 across the board. One thing, the 2020 version, everyone's really pretty and artificial looking. They are all so good looking for the most part. The '94 version, they actually just look like real people.
Yeah.
It's not that there aren't a few good looking ones of the bunch, They look like normal people you'd run into. Gary Sinise, Stu Redman seems like a good old boy from Texas that just lives a simple life, and he's so likable and relatable as an everyman. Where Mister Dimples and Cheekbones James Marston comes in, it's like, yeah, I don't buy it as much, and I really like James Marston,
Yeah.
but he is not who I would have picked to play Stu Redmond,
No,
the
he.
all American, all Texas everyman.
That's what I mean when I think of Steve Redmond. It really is to me. It's supposed to be kind of like it's King's Gary Cooper. He is just this country dude. And yeah, Gary Sinise to me, Gary Sinise is perfect casting. Amber and I kind of jokingly sat down with the list of main characters and kind of did our fan casting. And like if we could cast it with people now, I don't remember everybody I had, but the first name that came to my mind for Stu Redmond was Cole Hauser. Because of his stuff on Yellowstone, I thought he would be somebody who could play for me a Stu Redmond. I love James Marsden. I think he's fantastic. He's a great Cyclops. I thought he was great on Westworld. He's a terrible choice for Stu Redmond.
It just, and that's the problem with a lot of these people. It's like, okay, it's like Larry Underwood, but the dude who plays in '94 is kind of a sleazy looking dude. Uh, and it's just like first you're like a little put off by him, but he really grows on you as time goes on. The Larry Underwood, the newer one, it's like, oh, I've got a cocaine problem, but otherwise I'm just a pretty stand up guy and whatnot. And I like the arc better of the '94 version. I like the way the '94 version was played better.
Yeah.
Um, and big one, Mother Abigail. Uh, I don't know what else that woman who played her '94's ever been in. She's wonderful because she really was an old black woman. Just
Now
very.
she was under prosthetics. She is in, and God help me for fucking knowing this. She is in Cop and a Half with Burt
Oh,
Reynolds. But yeah, so she was married to Ozzie Davis. They were a real life power couple. But yeah, she is under. It's a real like Max von Sydow in The Exorcist. When you see her in real life, you go, "Oh wait, she's not always been 100 years old."
well, she's convincing. Or Whoopi Goldberg, it feels very artificial. I don't know. I just really didn't buy her on the role as
that
this wise and kind of prophet.
that feels the most of everything. That feels the most stunt casting. It was like we need because I there are movies that I love Whoopi Goldberg in. Um, the one that she does with Sam Elliott is fantastic. Um, a bunch of her '80s stuff was great, but yeah, and then again, it's just another character where most of Mother Abigail's story takes place before they get to Boulder. But because we are starting this series in Boulder and then certain characters are telling their stories in flashback, she's not given that. So she's just there and they just talk about her. Um to a point where she's like, "Oh, hey, guys over here. Now, this is the part where I come back into the story just to remind you that I'm here. Okay, bye." Like she is totally unneeded in this version because all of her story is about getting to this point, and because we're telling the story nonlinear, she's just there as like this weird like lump on the sofa in the background of certain scenes.
Yeah. So sum it up, '94 version, without with a few exceptions, I'd say, is superior in terms of actors. Love the just a dynamite cast, real looking people who played these characters really well in a way you could really level with them on. So that was my takeaway watching this again. Um, the 2020 version cast and everything else as well is just too polished.
Yes. There were two people I'm surprised we haven't brought up yet. Because to me they're the worst casting of the lot. Um, one is not the biggest character, but I want to save him for last.
Say who?
So first off, I want to say is I know his brother was Pennywise, and I like Alexander Skarsgård a lot. This is one of the worst casting choices for Randall Flagg.
I like him a lot. He's great in True Blood. He was a terrible choice for Randall Flagg. Um, it
There are
just in the 94 version or the 94 version, he's just he's charming but can fly off the handle. And man, I love him. What a great Randall Flagg. Alexander Skarsgård. I don't know. Again, he feels like he's in a different TV show than this. It doesn't fit.
there is one in this 9 hours of television. There is one moment, and it's in the final episode where he is in a dream talking to Franny, and he's telling her all the things he'll do for her. He just wants a kiss. Is the only moment where I went, "That's Randall Flagg." The rest of it, he's wearing this pompadour, and he just like stands there. They're like, "That's Randall Flagg. That's the evil," and he just stands there like, "Yeah." um,
And I know exactly who the other one is because it is the worst part of the 2020 version. The worst. So it's 1994. We got Matt Fuhrer, Max Headroom fame among others, as Trash Can Man, this crazy pyromaniac. And he's unhinged, but they went full insane on the 2020 version.
but here's I want to throw this out here too because again, and if I haven't read the book, the character of Trash Can Man is a character that doesn't have it plays a huge role without being a huge character, and is like he's a pyromaniac. He's crazy. When you are reading his parts of the novel and reading through his eyes, he is the most tragic character you may ever read in a book. What he went through, that physically, mentally, the things that were done to him, you understand what this man has become now that he is free to burn. But even then, he is still even at the end of it when he brings about the big fire, you can still feel that there is a sad, horribly, horribly beaten down human being underneath all that crazy.
He's
And
a
in
very tragic he's a very tragic character, and Matt Frewer sells that with his hallucinations and hearing the voices of people who had tormented him. If you do, it's just like he was such a horrifically broken person. So he wasn't a good guy. I mean, he was a crazy pyromaniac, but you can see the humanity in him, which is a big change from the 2020 version. Played by embattled actor Ezra Miller, who you may know as the Flash, and you know had other something about Kevin. Anyway, Ezra Miller, who's gotten into a lot of heat uh, over the last several years. This version of Trash Can Man, when we first introduced him to him, I was like, I just sat there in disbelief watching it. Would you see him hooking up explosive to these oil barrels, and he's in like dirty, tidy whiteys with just this gear on and this crazy like magnifying glass, like helmet and stuff, and he blows up the oil drums, and he is stroking it, watching the fire. That it is awful.
I believe my reaction was setting. Yeah, like he's like the worst character from like the worst. Like when you think of like the grossest like Mark Millar comic books, this is this character. Like he's in dirty tidy whities. He's got knee pads on. He's got Donatello's like headgear, and he's just yanking it to an explosion while like drooling and yelling. And I believe we're just sitting here. My reaction, I just went no.
It's terrible. And throughout, you're like, okay, this dude's just like a drooling lunatic who just likes to whack it and light things on fire. You're like, this guy couldn't function in any kind of basic way. It's like if he was as far gone and terrible as he is, he would have stubbed his toe and gotten an infection and died or something. You just can't buy him as, oh, this guy, Matt Fuhrer is trash command. He's unhinged, but you can also buy him as this kind of explosives and fire savant. Ezra Miller plays it so like grotesque and out there. You're like, you feel nothing for there's no depth to the character whatsoever. It's like, I'm sexually attracted to fire, like fire blowing things up. And that's it. It's just like,
Yeah,
it's
he's
awful. It was terrible in how it was written, and it's terrible in how Ezra Miller played him. It is awful, and it's the worst part of this
it's a
movie.
cartoon character. It's like I don't we would make joke of like they were in a different movie than everybody else. Like he's in a different universe. Um,
It, and it Trash Can Man such a great, memorable character, and they completely threw that in the garbage. And it just first episode turns you off so hard to
yeah,
this, and it was handled so poorly by an actor who had no business playing him. So 94 version wins yet again by a landslide in that department.
yeah. Um, yeah. Like I said, we did finally make it, Nick. We got a bot in the chat. Um,
Of course.
um, and what's funny is in watching this again. Yeah, I am biased, but you watch that '94 version, and like I said, it was filmed over 6 states in Canada. We're filming it in actual New York City. We're filming in real Las Vegas. Um, the scope of this television miniseries in 1994 is on a grand scale like nothing people had ever seen before. So I'm thinking, okay, so we get to 2020, and there are a few scenes of like really breathtaking views. Um, but if the scale of this 2020 version feels so small. Because our whole of Vegas is what I call the Melrose Place set, which is like all of Las Vegas is this made up casino that all the rooms are balconies that look over this drained pool where we have gladiator fights. And it's just people hanging out in this weird little area and that looks like you remember the scene if you've ever seen the Reno 911 movie where they all go to their
I have
hotel
not.
rooms uh and are but they all have their windows open and so they're all watching porn and like one of them is trying to like talk to the others but like he just keeps running up and down the aisle like the balcony aisles like you think of a hotel and it's just like rooms and rooms of open windows with the cast of the show watching. It's just like that's your set of Vegas. That's your Vegas. Is this weird? Again, it felt like a Melrose Place esque Alfred Hitchcock back alley set of this hotel. And then Boulder is just like so much of it feels like we're like there's mountains in the background, but I can't tell if it's green screen. Like it just doesn't.
No, it
There's
doesn't.
no epic
94.
to
You get
this.
you get you get all these shots of snow-capped mountains, and Said everything feels smaller in the 2020 version, and man, it really shouldn't. Hey, I'm gonna step off for a minute.
Yeah. So I'll keep going with some of the weird things that don't. Yeah, just that the weather, like it's all nitpicky stuff, I know. But like the weather in the 2020 version is so if you it takes place over the whole plague, the end of the world takes place in the summer. Because they talk about millions of bodies in the summer sun and what that would do, and so much of this movie is like we're just like man, we gotta get out of New York City. Hang on, I've got to put my big jacket and scarf on. Um, but what do you? So do you guys? I guess we'll ask if you. Is there anybody in the chat that has not at least read or seen some form of The Stand? Because I would feel real bad about spoiling so much of this if you've never seen any of it. See if anybody pops up. But yeah, like I was saying, just the epicness of it, the scale of it. Even to the point of like I wrote down, yeah, there's the weather when it comes to the weather of the thing where um we're wearing like full jackets and hoodies throughout the first chunk of this show. Um and it's supposed to take place in like the summer. Uh if you haven't, I would recommend it. The book can be daunting. Um I would say pay $15 for a free month of Audible. You get one free download. Download the audiobook. I think it's like 40 something hours in audio form, but you can at least sit there and listen to it. Uh, Also, I think both. I don't know if you look to see if the 94 version is streaming anywhere. I know it's on Blu-ray. Um,
Uh, you can watch it on YouTube.
okay,
It's in its entirety on YouTube. So
okay. The 2020 version is on Paramount Plus, but the OG one, I'd say definitely check it out. Um, but
the for the faults is so that I think 2020, while it has problems, I don't think it's terrible. I just think it kind of fails in comparison to the 94 version. Again, as somebody who's not read the book, I would still say the 94 version holds up better, worth checking out more. If
so
you're gonna watch one,
the one thing I want to get into, I agree with you about the 2020 version. Like I was like, okay, this is different, but I'm not hating it
yes,
until
except for
Trash
take
Came
that.
In until we get to the last two episodes, which is the climax. So definitely spoilers. Because the 94 version, you have the grand scale, you have the scene where the final people are brought before Flag. There's going to be this grand public execution. Um, in a very, very heinous way. But very like in keeping with kind of the way Flag is. Um, in both versions, but we'll get to 2020. And Trash Can Man ultimately brings about the demise of the villains. He has been sent. Well, he is sent out, but then ends up changing his. They end up changing his motivation. He brings a warhead, a nuclear bomb, to Vegas. And due to some supernatural things, the hand of God uh comes down and sets off the nuclear warhead, exterminating Vegas. Now, in 1994, it is the weakest part of the 94 version because it's a weird, goofy CGI electric hand that like comes down and like slowly, badly grips this bomb. Um, that's why I'm telling you, get the audiobook. You can just listen to that while you're doing so. And I would say don't listen to it. Listen to it 1.5 speed. It gets past a lot of the pauses and it takes it down to like 38 hours. When we get to that part of the story in 2020, I felt like did the person who was adapting this not read the novel? And I say that because you have the two characters are brought and they're going to be executed, and he has them. The whole point of it is they have to go and make their stand figuratively, spiritually, literally before Flag as the as God's emissaries on Earth. To in the face of evil, they are good and they must stand against evil. So naturally, they're put on their knees and chained to the bottom of a pool. So I'm like, well, they're not even actually standing in the stand. And then instead of this weird electrical thing, they bring in the bomb, and then like this big storm cloud comes, and then begins killing all the bad guys via either the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, or in the case of Lloyd Henry, they just get Final Destination to death. Before the bomb does go off. And that's the thing too is, this is why I say it, because credit to the writer. The like that ending, the ending of the climax is a one sentence line, and I'm gonna say it here in a second, and it still gives me goosebumps the way he writes it. And you get a diluted version of it in the 94 version. The 2020 version just completely blows it. Um, and the line is to quote the book. He says when the bomb goes off, it says, "And the righteous and the unrighteous alike were both consumed in that holy fire." That's the line. And yet there's so much impact there. And then to watch this, the 2020 version of it bugged me. I will say this isn't a perfect novel. My biggest complaint with the book is that happens, and there's still like 200 pages left of the novel to go after the bomb goes off. Um, because we have to get characters back to Boulder. Um, which this new version completely just overlooks. And again, it's a part of the book that because we skip that, we lose a lot of character development and growth for Tom. You lose a lot of his relationship with Stu. And then we just jump straight back into the ending of the novel. So that we could do this new episode that's a tacked on ending, which is dumb. The final episode. Uh, which is aside from that, does give you the ending of with Flag on the island, which is from the uncut version of the novel. The whole thing with the last temptation of Franny and the ghost kid and the well. None of that is in the novel. It's written to end this version, and it's stupid.
Oh, it adds nothing. And they're like, oh, so these two people and a baby are going to go back across post-apocalyptic America and go live alone in the coast at Maine. It's like, one, that's a real dumb idea. Yes, let's throw away community and go where we have zero help whatsoever. Then along the way, they go on this mission and run into little girl Mother Abigail and falling down a well, and it has nothing to anything. It feels really dumb and tacked on, and you get nothing out of it.
Yeah. It does end with them wanting to leave Boulder. I don't think it ends with them going back to Maine. It ends with them they stop at Hemingford home. And then that's kind of where their story ends. And then it ends, this actual ending of the book is Randall Flagg wakes up shirtless
Of course,
on a beach, and he doesn't know his name. And then he comes across a bunch of natives on this island who have not been touched by civilization. And he says he begins to smile because he feels that he can. Throughout the novel, he talks about he knows that something's coming because he knew he could float. He they kind of overdo it in the 2020 version of him just like standing there floating for no reason. Uh, but he begins to smile because he feel like he could do it again. And then he talks to the tribe of people, indigenous people, and essentially saying that the circle, because the circle never closes. Time is especially in King's multiverse. Time is a wheel, cause a wheel, and destiny keeps going. There's never a true ending. Things
time
will
is a flat
begin again.
circle.
Yep.
Watch True Detective season 1.
But so now with these two versions, there are some things that are missing. This is kind of where I will give my druthers things that are missing from the um both versions. I will say I want to go ahead and say yes, I agree. Subscribe if you're still in here. Put your channel link in the chat for the 3-minute horror reviews. Because it's awesome and he's doing good work over there. I really enjoy it. So show him some love. Um, there are some things that I'd like to see. Number one is the full collapse. There, as much as we get in the more so in the 94 version, the 2020 version, is the collapse of society. The stuff where you are seeing just how quickly and deadly this virus takes hold. I do appreciate that we are, because another form of another name for the disease, superflu, Captain Trips, is tube neck. And I do like the I will so we've done a lot of shitting on the 2020 version. I will say the look of the disease to me is much better
Oh, it is.
in the 2020 version.
It's seeing it's like their neck and lymph nodes swell up, and they're just like gushing snot, and it's disgusting looking and terrifying, and they did fantastic with that, with the makeup for it, making this just look absolutely horrific.
Yeah, it um but I would like more of that stuff. You know, the this 2020 version, I'm assuming it's because of the timing of it. Um, does it really shies away from the cover up, the initial cover up of the flu? Because you do get a lot of characters that are short lived in this world. The character that Kathy Bates plays, the radio DJ. There are scenes from that time in the book that haven't been done. There's a part in the book where a group of soldiers hijack a television station, um, and start executing people on live television, on like the emergency band. That's a big part of it. But and then as seen by some of our characters who can't believe that it's real because there's no way they would put that on TV before other soldiers break in and gun them down. Um, you know, there's talk about corpse barges and suppression of the media and things that would definitely be going on. Sometimes going on, whether or not there's a world-ending disease, but they really shy away from that stuff. There's also a part of the book. It's a part of the book that's left out of the original. That's in the uncut version. It's one of my favorite parts of the book. It's like a dark, guilty pleasure part of the book. And it's the second wave of loss, and it is the people who are immune to the flu who end up dying for one reason or another. Um, and it could be there's in the book and what's funny because all of them that die stupidly, he ends each one of those chapters with the phrase "no great loss." Um, there's a guy who stumbles upon a drug dealer's house, does way too much, shoots up way too pure drug and dies of an overdose. There's a little boy running through a field and he falls down a well. There's a woman who is afraid of a man in her neighborhood, so she goes up into the attic and gets her father's because the story takes place in 1990 in a futuristic 1990 because the book was written in 1978. Like his World War II service pistol, um, sees that there are still bullets in it, and there have been bullets in it since World War II. Goes outside to shoot the guy, and the gun explodes and kills her.
Oh
Um,
man.
just a second wave of because that's to expect. Like I survived this. I may be immune to this disease, but that doesn't mean I have survival skills. um, there's a scene in that they tried it that I was excited to see them try to do in the 2020 version because it's a really like heavy action part of the novel. But it's just done so stupidly and haphazardly, um, and cheaply in the 2020 version, and that is what in the people who know the book lovingly call the zoo. And in the 2020 version, it is just one dude. And it's the creepy, weird, bearded guy from the Insidious movies. Um, in the book, it's a group of dudes. Um, but they are hijacking people as they're trying to cross the country, killing the men, uh, taking the women, and they have them in the back of like a semi trailer, and they keep four women at a time, and when they come across new ones, they get rid of old ones. And it's called the zoo. It's a very dark, nasty part of the book, but it's where we meet two big characters. That's where we are introduced to the character who's left out of the 2020 version, Susan, which is a member of the actual Free Zone Committee, and Dana, who is one of the main spy that we know about when we do send spies over, which is something that again for the 2020 version is just like Oh, we're sending spies. Oh, and then we systematically killed them. Like the judge is kind of done dirty, and so is Dana in that regard. Um, and then the more Vegas, and this is my I'm going to complain for this for both versions. Vegas in the novel is not in the 2020 version. They like it's set up like it's Sodom and Gomorrah, where it's just like people are just like in like leather collars, just like dry humping slot machines, and just it's again they're having like pit fights to the death with chainsaws. Like it's madness. The 1994 version really plays on like a 1930s esque Germany, with these big like red banners that have this pro esque emblem on them in black, and we're all in red t-shirts and silver hard hats for some reason and sunglasses. And it's the 90s, so we're all carrying Uzis. But um, Las Vegas in the novel is actually a better place to live than Boulder. Because they get the power back on faster. There are no drugs. There's harsh penalty for drugs, alcohol abuse, crime, all these things. And by harsh, there's a scene that is left out, and it's always hinted at on both in both versions. Because you are shown Vegas as such an idyllic kind of like, oh, yeah, that's where we'd want to live. There's no crime, there's no drug use. There's order, there's law and order. And then there's a scene where in the middle of a day, a guy who was caught doing drugs is taken out and violently crucified in front of everybody in town to give you that. Oh, okay, this is bad. Um, and this one does a little bit more with that, but I like the first one, the '94 version only. Um, you see that one time with the guy hung on a telephone pole and he has like a macaroni noodle sign around his neck that says drug addict on it. And then the one that I remember reading as a kid, not nearly understanding all the depravity of it, reading again, is The Kid, which is one of the most insane characters in the novel. For better or worse, has been left out. I guess at one point he was supposed to be in this 2020 version, played by Marilyn Manson, but was ultimately cut out of the film. Uh, but the scene with him and Trash Can, he gets Trash Can to a scene that's left out, where Trash Can has a very similar scene as Larry leaving New York when Larry crosses through the Lincoln Tunnel, which is a terrifying part of that 94 version. Which is one reason I say the 2020 version feels so much cheaper, because instead of doing the Lincoln Tunnel, it's just Larry in the sewer. Which is like, why did you make that change? You made it so much less scary.
Yeah, it's not great.
And then later on in the novel, Trash Can has to kind of do the same thing through the Eisenhower Tunnel. So you kind of get uh two tunnels there, but you get The Kid, which I remember reading. I think I made you read it at some point, just to be like, look how fucked up this is.
Yeah, I remember that part. I do.
um, so that's the stuff that's missing. Before we dive into kind of like what's next, what's on the horizon, do you have anything else you want to? I've been book nerding out here for a bit.
Yeah. No, again, as not having the same background with having read the book, I can't really add in much as to what was missing. It's like I knew the character of the kid was completely omitted. Uh, I'm not sure how well it would have fit in, but I don't know. Could have made things interesting, but no. So yeah, not much to add in that department. As for what the future holds, I hear there's another adaptation, a possibly theatrical release, is the rumor I've heard. I don't know how true that is.
So yeah, so I have it on my notes here. Uh, so well, I guess in 2008. So we'll start there because we ended up with the in the that 2008 Marvel Comics released an adaptation consisting of 6 volumes totaling 30 issues. It's actually a fairly good adaptation. The only problem is now it is out of print and it is almost impossible to find for any decent price. Um, I have 5 of the 6 volumes. So if anybody has that 6 volume and they don't want it, uh, let me know. And then you don't want to charge me $400 for 1 volume of a comic book series from the early 2000s. But yes, it is right now. It's in development with Doug McQuarrie. No, Doug Lyman. I'm sorry. I was mixing two directors. Doug Lyman, who did several of the Bourne films, as well as the Edge of Tomorrow. So, he also did the remake of Roadhouse. So, and so far as I know, they just want to do it as a movie. Again, this is an almost 1,200-page novel that spans the entire continental United States on an epic scale. I honestly think that I don't think you really pulled it off with the 9-hour CBS All Access miniseries. I don't think you're going to pull it off with a 3-hour movie.
I think you would end up having to make multiple movies in order to fit it all in without it seeing either cutting out huge amounts of the story or yeah, it said multiple parts or cut it into one 3-hour movie that you just miss a lot of stuff. Um, I'll be honest, I'm okay if they never do it. I mean, if they do it, I'll watch. But this is a story that needs time to breathe, and it's too much to cram into one. I'll be honest, 2.5, 3-hour movies. There's a lot to put in there.
Yeah,
But if they just try throwing this into one movie or even two movies, it's going to be tough. But yeah, I think just leave it alone.
yeah.
The
Now, I
2020
will.
version's okay. The 94 version's great. Watch one of those.
Yeah. If you are wanting more from the stand, um, August 19th of this year saw the release of The End of the World as We Know It, which was the first official uh, companion piece of fiction that King actually signed off on. He would not, several other, not adaptations, but short stories set in the worlds of his novels have been written. The Stand was not one he would let people do. He finally did. It was put together by Christopher Golden and Brian Keene, two of the bigger names in modern horror. Uh, 34 short stories set in the world of Stephen King's The Stand is divided into 4 parts. Part 1 is called Down with the Sickness, and those stories take place during the initial spread of the flu. Part 2 is called The Long Walk, which takes place between the arrival at Boulder and the climax in Vegas. Part 3 is called Life is Such a Wheel, which takes place immediately after the ending of the novel and up to 3 decades after. And then the fourth 4th book is called Other Worlds Than These, and it is left un known as to when it takes place in the timeline. I will say there are some really good stories in here. Like I said, reading this really got me into reading The Stand again because I just wanted to keep in that world. The only thing that King said was he didn't want anybody to write from the standpoint of any established characters. Uh, it's also interesting because you are getting short stories from writers who aren't necessarily American. So there are a few stories that take place in this world during this time of the flu that don't take place in America. Because again, that it wipes off 99.6% of the world. So there are survivors in other countries that aren't a part of the battle for good and evil. Um, some of them, I wrote down some of the ones that I really enjoyed. Bright Light City, Lockdown is a story that I really enjoyed. It is about seemingly an island off the coast of Maine that is untouched by the flu, and what the Islanders will do to protect that. It really gave me a lot of like Storm of the Century vibes. You know, with being like an island off the coast of Maine or Midnight Mass or something to that effect. In a Pig's Eye by J.R. Lansdale, guy who wrote Bubba Hotep. There's a lot of country fried horror. Um, the Hope Boat, which is the first one that wasn't. It's about a woman in Puerto Rico trying to get a boat to Miami. She's been told that there's a boat to Miami to get off of Puerto Rico because most of the island is wiped out. Um, Wrong Fucking Place, Wrong Fucking Time by C. Robert Cargill is about what two horror movie nerds do in the midst of a global pandemic. So that one is near and dear to my heart. The story I tell is the story of Some of Us by Paul Tremblay. If you know Paul Tremblay, Cabin at the End of the World, Head Full of Ghosts. It's very much like that. Abigail's Gethsemane. It's probably the only one that is allowed to um, do anything directly with the character. Um, because it's essentially tells the story of what happens to Mother Abigail when she leaves Boulder to go to the wilderness, and basically like the last temptation of Christ, but it's Mother Abigail in in the wilderness of Colorado, uh, while she's gone from the novel, and how she's tempted to by flag. Um, my favorite story, He's a Righteous Man by Ronald Malfi. I love Ronald Malfi. That story is really great, but it steals huge chunks of a short story that you and I put together for a Western Oklahoma horror anthology we were going to do at one point. So, you know, it made me a little sad that they sold it, but that's okay. Uh, Grand Junction is a Chuck Wendig. If you've ever read The Wanderers. The one I think would interest you the most, though, Nick, is called Walk on Gilded Splinters by David J. Shaw. He was a splatterpunk author. Also wrote The Crow, the screenplay for The Crow, and that one takes place way in the future. It has a really Richard Stanley Hardware vibe. It's like this weird, like not cyberpunk, but like post-apocalyptic punk. And they talk about like the Bible of Trash Can, and like there's all this weird side like Mad Max esque stuff related to like, you know, decades and decades, maybe even like 100 years after the stand. Here's what future generations in this weird post-apocalyptic Richard Stanley Hardware esque world think about these stories, which was really interesting. But with that, I guess I will close the circle on the stand. Um, anything?
No,
uh,
no, you yeah, expanded greatly upon it. You've looked a lot more into everything surrounding it. My uh and everything connected. Mine's a lot more restricted to the mini series, the 94 and 2020, which
yeah,
I say gives me a little bit of different perspective on it as well. Just looking at them as pure mini series instead. But yeah, it's good watching these again. I was able to show my wife the 94 version the first time. We watched the 2020 version together, and yeah, it's good breaking it down and going really deep with the weeds with this one and the details about the stand.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't help that this is like again, this is my favorite novel ever. So when it was like we're gonna dive into it, I was like, all right, well, let me put on deep goggles and snorkel because we're going deep. Yeah, and we didn't get around to watching the 94 version, but after the 2020 version, Amber was like, I really want to rewatch the 94 version. Because it has this kind of nostalgic, I know that when people think now the golden age of like modern television is like late 90s, early 2000s, the launch of like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and stuff, but this was event television, man, and these miniseries, um, they were you I don't think people can understand how big a deal they were. Like they was like just they like it captivated millions of people on these like just nights of just like families standing around the TV watching these stories unfold and these adaptations. And I would like, I think at some point, um, looking at especially like just the King ones, because he had that huge run of just these television miniseries. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I love The Stand, and I think The Stand is up there, The Stand isn't my favorite of these miniseries. So that would be something really, really fun to dive into at some point. Eventually, we'll get around to doing more King movies, good and bad. I think we'll plan on that. It is just such a daunting task because the guy has like over 70 novels, hundreds of short stories, and how many of them are multiple adaptations of which ones, with more still to come. We've gotten what, 3 King movies this year so
Something like
far?
that.
The Monkey, The Long Walk, and Life of Chuck, and I think there's still The Running Man still coming, and there's still maybe even another one that's supposed to come out here in the next 6 months. So I mean, it's a never ending thing. So, but I did have fun diving into this. You wouldn't look at maybe us to be like, oh, they're gonna deep dive into the book, but it was a lot of fun revisiting this, and again, just kind of a deep dive, not only into what we like and dislike about the adaptations, but again, how tied we are to that first version, how big a part it played in kind of a lot for each of us in different ways going forward.
So that's the stand.
Now, next month, if you thought this one was maybe a little too nerdy, don't worry, because next month we are bringing some fun. November is my favorite of the months that we do. Um, and on both the main videos because it's our Neo Noir November. So every Sunday we're going to be uh, new reviews out for 4 fantastic movies. That's the fun thing. I get to know that I'm doing 4 movies that are great. um, we are continuing our kind of thing of each year we've done it. Will be the 4th year for Neo Noir November. Where we do I get at least one Brian De Palma. I get there'll be one Brian De Palma movie, one foreign film, and then one David Lynch movie that I make Amber watch once a year. So this year we are doing uh an ode to Gene Hackman. We're going to cover The Conversation. I'm going to cover Kurosawa's Cure. It'll be our foreign film. We're doing to me the probably the sleaziest of Brian De Palma, and a movie that to me wholeheartedly is homaged by Ty West's Maxine, and that is Body Double, and then Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. But more importantly, for now, for this live stream, is Nick and I are diving into neo westerns. So leave the fedoras and grab the Stetsons because we are going to be diving into some awesome Western adjacent modern day westerns, however neo western, whatever you want to call it, films. Um, I'm excited about that.
I think we'll have some good ones. The movies we have at the docket are some bangers, and I'm really looking forward to watching them and breaking those down.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun
Going to
in
be a good
November.
time.
A lot of fun in November. So you're not going to miss that. Plus, you know, when Nick can, he gets to the theater and we get some post theater clarity. I have not seen anything new. That's not true. Ashton and I watched The Black Phone too. I liked it. I know some people didn't, but I liked it. Amber wouldn't let me get the popcorn bucket. It made me sad because it was cool. It looks like a black phone. He said no. So I took a half star off the movie. But other than that, this has been a lot of fun. Super nerdy, but we've been going for a while. So, like I said, next noirs and neo westerns. Gonna be a lot of fun, and as always, it's fun to get nerdy and just talk movies and TV and stuff with you and you at
Oh,
home.
yeah. Always love it.
So do you have anything before we get on out of here?
My most recent post theater clarity for the Smashing Machine, I believe, is that on our YouTube. Go check that out and share my thoughts on a movie I was really looking forward to, but yeah, kind of ended up being a little different than I thought it would be. So yeah, go check that out, and there are more coming this way.
Yeah.
Nice, little some nice just brief thoughts after I watch a movie, and just before I've really had time to chew on it, just kind of give you my immediate thoughts, because a lot of times you watch a movie, your opinion changes over time, but that's just how it struck me in the immediate aftermath. And yeah, they're quick to watch. It's a good time, so stop by there.
Yeah, it is good. It's nice to have quick reviews because one of us gets to rambling. I can't tell you which one it is, but one of us does. Speaking of rambling, I do that tomorrow at 4:00. You can check out my review, our last Clive Barker review. And what I discovered while doing it is maybe my favorite Clive Barker movie, and that's The Lord of Illusions. So you don't want to miss that. And then, yeah, like I said, everything else going forward. Um, you make fun of it being a play. No, it was a cool popcorn bucket. It looked like an old school rotary phone. That's okay though. I'm not bitter about it. I'm over it. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for this October live. I hope you all have a safe and fun and healthy Halloween. Uh, stay away from creepy uh Halloween mommies and body shaped candy bars. Nick knows what I'm talking about. We watched VHS Halloween when he was down here. Um Stay away from that stuff, and only if it says take one, only take one. Otherwise you'll live to regret it. But with that, I've been Jason.
I'm Nick.
And we will see you guys next time.
Later.
Bye.